All right, let's talk about buying a house or mortgages. So, what is the biggest issue New Zealanders or in the world right now? It's how are we going to save enough money to be able to buy your first home? Okay, and if you're in a position to buy your first home, one of the biggest issues I see is people wanting to buy this dream home as their first home. There are many different ways to get into property ownership. I'll give you an example. I've got one of my good friends who about 3 years ago came to me and he said, JC, I want to buy a house. And I said to him, no, you're not going to be able to buy a house. Not going to be able to buy a house doing what you're doing today. But if we sit down and I put a plan in place for you, a plan that's probably going to take you 2 years to achieve, you're going to be able to buy a house in 2 years. And it's all about the way he was doing things. He was self-employed and focusing on the changes he needed to make to be able to achieve the serviceability and the level of savings to be able to buy this house. 2 years later, he bought a house up in Mangawai, paid $575,000. This is probably about 2 years ago now. That house is worth about 1.2 million right now. And not just the fact that he managed to buy this house, which was amazing, and it was all about him. So I always say to people, I'm going to give you a whole lot of advice, but 90% of the effort comes from you, not from me. Because you got to put all this stuff in place and do the changes you need to make, and that's the part that we really got to focus on. So not just the fact that he was able to buy this house, his mind frame just completely changed, and now he's into all these different types of investment, and he's in a great financial position, and he's got a great lifestyle, which I really love. He works 4 times a week, and he lives in Mangawai, and his life's amazing. So he doesn't need a whole lot, but he achieved that out of making small changes with his life. How do you buy a house? You save to buy a house, you borrow money, you get help from your parents, you join with a friend to go and buy a house. I'm working with a couple right now who bought their first home together. We went through the process of understanding if they could sell this house so they can buy this house separately now, but they have such a great lifestyle living together that they now decide to buy this second house together as well. And they've gone from paying $800,000 for the first house, and now they can achieve buying this $1.5 million house. So the ways we can buy a house are very different. What's the biggest thing when you come to me is I'm going to help you figure that out. That is the difference between you walking into the bank or working with me. The person at the bank is going to tell you, is going to run the numbers and is going to go, you don't have enough savings, so you got to come back when you've got enough. Or your savings is not right, so maybe you should get a second job. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you the areas that we need to work on. We're going to put a plan in place so you're able to achieve buying this house. And because I have all this experience, and we have all this experience with running businesses, so if you're self-employed or you're PAYE or you're looking at changing careers, or you have family that want to help you, or you have a friend that wants to buy a house, we're going to work on all these different areas to be able to help you achieve this goal of buying your first home, or second or third or fourth. What is the key is really understanding, again, from a mortgage point of view, how we generate enough servicing. So there's 2 parts to a mortgage. There is the servicing part, which is how much money you make, so how much money the bank will lend you, and there's the deposit or the equity side, which is your savings, which can come from savings, Kiwis saver, gift from parents, gift from a friend, whatever it is. That is, those 2 together give you the end result, which is an amount of money that you can buy a house with. Where are you going to buy a house? Which is another area that we really focus on. You're going to buy a house where you can afford buying a house. So this whole plan that we're going to put in place is to help you achieve getting into the property market. Why is very important getting into the property market? Call it in Auckland, in Christchurch, in Dunedin. I work with clients all around the country. Once you get into the market, you're moving with inflation, and you're moving with the property growth, that equity that is really hard to get to and really hard to chase. So if you're trying to save this year for a house that is worth 800,000 and it took you a year to save that money for the deposit, maybe in a year time that house is going to be worth $1 million, So it's very important to really understand this plan to be able to get you into the market first. So maybe on the second purchase, you're going to be in your dream house or your second house, depending on what is it that you're trying to achieve. So buying a house is not just about buying a house. It's about that security. It's about that long-term plan. Is your first home going to be your dream home? Probably not, unless you got a big coffin full of gold coins. Your first house is going to be your step into the market. Your second house might be your dream home, or maybe your 10th house. Who knows? It really depends on what your plan it is with property. I work with a lot of property investors who want to buy a whole lot of properties. A lot of the times we figure out that whole lot of properties don't really need to happen. Maybe with 2 or 3, they're going to be able to achieve the lifestyle they want to achieve, and that's where it's really important to focus on, because you don't want to work all your whole life to be able to achieve something financially where maybe you are already on the way to achieve it, so you can have that balance of lifestyle and whatever you're trying to achieve. What is the big difference between you going directly to the bank or working with someone like me? We're gonna look at all the different options of how you can achieve buying this house. We're always available. A lot of our meetings are either at 6, 7 a.m. in the morning or up to 8 p.m. at night. So we don't work the normal sort of 9 to 5 sort of hours. We have a lot of experience with property. We deal with people buying first homes, second homes, third homes, new builds, construction lending, turnkey packages, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. I'm lucky enough to have a lot of experience with construction lending, which is a very topical thing today because the government is really encouraging people to buy new houses. Construction lending can be a pretty intense process to go through. It's a lot more complicated than what buying a house just off the shelf can be. So having someone experienced to work with you so you can understand each part of the process is invaluable. So we're always available. People that, and we've got a lot of people going through that process at the moment. Being able to have someone there that you can pick up the phone and answer a question that you might have at 6 p.m. at night or 7 p.m. at night that is going to make you feel comfortable about the process you're going through. It can really take away that stress and that emotional stress that you're going through when you're buying a house. Buying your first home can be the most emotional thing you're going to do in your life. It can be quite stressful. So reducing, a big part of that process is the financial part of it. So if we can reduce that stress, that can be a huge help for you. Now, the big topic is interest rates. How do we pay mortgages faster? There's a huge focus and this comes from banks being really smart about the way they advertise and they make people think about how you're going to pay a mortgage faster or what's the best case scenario, and is getting the lowest interest rate. So we're in a market where all the main banks are competing for the same business. So the differences between an interest rate or another are very minimum, and they're impossible to control, because if you look at the interest rates from one week to the next, they're constantly changing. So getting the lower interest rate is a matter of you got to earn the right week, and then the following week they might go up, they might go down. Who knows what's going to happen? What the interest rates do is they determine how much money you're going to pay for your mortgage, but they're not going to help you pay it either slower or faster. So if you're paying 5% or you're paying 6%, it's still going to take you 30 years to pay your mortgage. The biggest thing here is how you're going to structure this loan for you to be able to pay it faster. And that's the huge impact that we will have, not just by helping you get the loan, so thinking about all the different ways we can work to help you get this loan, but also help you pay it faster. No one wants to spend 30 years like our parents did paying a mortgage. We want to pay this in hopefully half the time. How are we going to do that? The way we structure the loan, the way you use your money to offset interest against your loan, the way you the way you use the extra money or extra cash you might have to overpay your loan, how do you structure it? It depends on what's the future plans with this property. Let's say you went and bought a property to get into the market, and that's not your ideal property, and you want to in 2 years, 3 years time, 5 years time, buy your dream home. The way you structure your mortgage is to do with that. So that's where we can really help you structure things properly, so you can pay your first, get into a property, second, structure it so it meets your financial plan, and third, pay it faster. You want to be a property investor. If one property is going to take you 30 years to pay it off, if that's the plan you're going to use, you might want to do interest only. Who knows? It's going to be a very difficult plan. So having someone next to you that's got the experience and they can match that experience with what your expectations are can be hugely valuable. So that is what the plan is. We obviously go through this and we coach you through it, so you understand it really well. So you understand how you live your life, how you use your money to offset, to pay this faster, so you can have at the end the lifestyle you want to have currently and in the future, and the security for your family. Why do we want to buy a house? So we can live in a house where our family, our kids, can be in a safe place. One of the areas that we're really going to focus on, and we'll help you through it. We'll refer you to different professionals to make sure that the structure, the ownership structure, the tax structure for your property is set up right. Once when you buy your first home, there's not a lot that needs to happen, but yes, you will need a lawyer to take the security of that house and set the security with the bank. Once you get into property investment, there could be different advice about possibly owning a house under a trust, under a look-through company, and that's to do with what your family structure is, what your long-term plan with property is, the kind of jobs that you do, the kind of security you want to have. So having the right structure from a tax and security point of view is a huge part of how we structure a mortgage. So although we have enough knowledge to give you the advice on the things that you should look at, we will point you to the right professionals to give you that advice, to make sure that when we structure the mortgages for either your house or an investment property or multiple investment properties you might want to have, the structure is set up right, again, to get that financial success that you need to have long term to be able to achieve this lifestyle success that you want to achieve.